Okay, I figured it out. All right. I just want to, I think I did. I assume folks can hear me. Okay, great. All right. So let's go ahead and begin this. Thank you for your patience, especially given the bigger delay caused by the international incident. I don't know if everyone is aware of it. I don't know if I'm supposed to say it too loudly, but I figured it might be a reason people don't immediately just rush to this. I want to give that some time. Anyway, the fourth quarter results for Monument Group came out, and probably the most important financial report to read in not just Pavia, but all over CivMC among the public companies, because the state of Monument Group probably reflects, I think, the state of what's going on with Civ Commerce in general. So let me get it better. That's better. Okay, so I've not read this, so let's see what it says. So Q4 2024 has been a fantastic end to an absolutely brilliant year for Monument Group. With 27 months under our belt as a public company, we have broadened the foundations of economics and financial services across CivMC, which we continue to raise the bar on quarter on year. We have really taken it in our stride to improve the client experience over the past quarter, implementing sweeping changes to bank account customization, recurring bank transactions, and expanding the product range with Monument Goods stores. I will say that I did experience some of that with the sort code, and on like the first 2 days, there was essentially a sort code bubble. I actually managed to make money on it by getting the sort code HS King, which Artificial Driver immediately paid me 100 diamonds for. So I don't know if anyone else made much money in the sort code asset bubble, as it were, but I did. If you did make money on that, please let me know. Okay, so back to the actual report. Monument Goods remains our flagship on the ground division, offering tools, armor, and other items at affordable prices. Over Q4, we've expanded our offerings to include the new meteoric iron gear and opened a branch in Salerno. We've kept our prior Q3 promise to expand bank branch coverage, opening an additional 4 branches, each being in a different quadrant. Additionally, we have followed through on our desire to increase the stock of Monument Goods, bringing on board Tattoo 007 as an executive officer to assist in ensuring all Monument Goods stores are up to our high standards. Currently, we have held executive board elections for the 3rd time in our history, allowing shareholders to voice their opinion on the company's direction and vote for individuals who they wish to see drive us further. I'm pleased to welcome Tattoo 007 to the executive board in the capacity of chief strategy officer, with Goblin, Artificial Driver, Sisonius, and myself being returned to our usual roles by a majority of the shareholders. Signed, British Wonder, interim chief executive officer and chief financial officer. Okay, so let's take a look at the actual numbers themselves. Revenue breakdown. Q4 2024, Monument Group earned 27,424 diamonds in revenue, the largest revenue on record throughout its history as a public company. My guess is that's the largest revenue in a quarter for any company, based on what I can roughly recall. That's a lot. The increase in revenue was supported entirely by growth in the bank and goods divisions, with their intakes increasing 54% at the bank and 5% at the goods, respectively. The Monument Bank and Monument Goods made up 98.97% of the group's revenue. The remaining 1.02% of total revenue was taken in by fee cuts on the revenue of our subsidiaries. And below, you can view the revenue breakdown of the group's divisions since Q4 2022. The group has reinvested into the fastest growing avenues of revenue. The bank seller's growth has led to further capital investment and an increase in time spent developing bank features. The bank has outpaced Monument Goods in terms of percentage growth over the past 4 quarters, with the hope for the bank to eventually surpass the goods division through natural growth. So we look here. Yeah, the bank, Monument Bank, is this color. So it's definitely growing faster than the dark blue bar is. So it is catching up. Let me see what folks are saying. A great short code bubble 2024. Well, I don't know if it was that big of a bubble. I mean, there's definitely been. It's not, especially because I don't think people are buying it on margin or any form of leverage. So I don't think that happened. I'm amazed King did not get snatched up in like the first 5 minutes, and I was able to get it. It was helpful for J&J investing because I immediately took that 100 diamonds and put it into our business account. Also, expenses breakdown. This is the part that worried me. I was worried about how much the expenses might increase because I remember when I had looked at Q3's report, the expenses were seemingly getting out of control. In Q4 2024, expenses for the Monument Group increased 23% to 13,864 diamonds, the group's highest quarterly expenses in record. However, important to note that the growth of expenses has slowed, coming down from 32% in the prior quarter. This was the second consecutive quarter since Q3 2023 in which Monument Goods made up less than 50% of the group's total expenses, being superseded by Monument Bank due to rising interest payments. The banking division is now responsible for 57% of total expenses. And that is the tricky thing about the bank is the current expenses, if it grows up to be a bigger part of the business, Monument Group's margins are going to tighten as well. So the group's cost of revenue is anticipated to increase every successive quarter by the executive board as interest payments and growth of clients' deposits for the bank grow hand in hand. So basically just said what I did. We've continued developing our relationships with suppliers to drive down costs of revenue for Monument Goods, as well as onboarding extremely productive staff who have taken on certain tasks in-house. These efforts have saved the group thousands of diamonds and will go a long way to ensuring our expenses remain stable despite rising bank interest payments. Monument Bank's expenses of 7,918 diamonds were entirely a result of interest payments, with the bank paying out 21,275 diamonds in interest since its founding 21 months ago. So this is the bulk of the expenses right here. Below is a breakdown of expenses per division on a quarterly basis, with the two main divisions making up a majority of expenses throughout the year. Yeah, so I mean, look at this exponential growth of interest expenses. I mean, this is almost all interest. Interesting to see, though, how the Monument Goods expenses can really fluctuate. It looks like they got a more stable model here, and it's only been growing as they scale, but this is some wild stuff here. I wonder if there were some one-time expenses, essentially capital expenses that were made here that did not recur into these periods. That would be my guess. If you want to correct me in chat on any of this, please let me know. Check Discord real quick, see if anyone's saying anything there. No? Okay. So income dashboard, net income. So let's see, it was up 9% to 13,560, the group's highest quarterly net income since founding. This upholds the executive board's goal of continuous yet steady growth, supporting reinvestment of its business and funding of new potential ventures. The executive board previously set a goal in Q4 2023 of achieving 15,000 diamonds on hand by the end of 2024. We have exceeded our own expectations by nearly 10,000 diamonds. So let's see, that's net income. It's up 46% year over year, up 16% quarter over quarter. Still good. That is still good, despite the squeeze of the interest expense. Earnings per share is 21.46. So that is up 184% over year and 42% quarter over quarter. So let's go on a per share basis. That's actually amazing. And then diamonds on hand. I think that's just good for liquidity. The balance sheet will make that clearer, though. But yeah, definitely steady growth here. The tricky thing will be as they expand into what you might think of as the steady state GDP of Civ, even though their expansion across it could probably actually help grow it a bit. It's a question of how much that growth can continue. So that'll be interesting to watch. As the largest business in Civ, that is their most at risk of that. It's just essentially just saturating all the natural GDP voids that they can. So the executive board, this, along with 7,601 diamonds spent on share buybacks, I guess that explains the earnings per share growth. So for folks who don't know, the earnings per share is a somewhat more important metric than net income, just because if you own an individual share, its earning power as a slice of your ownership in the business is really what matters. And so share buybacks are a way to manufacture enhanced return on investment per share even if you can only grow income so much, you can grow the earning power of the investments that make up the ownership a bit faster if you buy the shares back at a good price, which it looks like Monument Group has been able to do, probably because whatever price they bought it for was not priced for like the growth that they've experienced, right? So if we look at from here to here, this is almost a double of their earnings in a year. We might question if on Civ, a year is really has the same weight as a year in real life. I have this idea that, time moves faster and a quarter is a better analog to a year. I discussed this, of course, when I was talking about like what should be considered a current or a non-current asset. But even if you double your earnings, let's say a quarter is the analog to a year and 4 years have passed. If you double your earnings in 4 years as a business, that's good. I mean, you double it again in another 4 years, you're up 4x, and then, you're probably close to 6 or 7x by the time you get to 10 years at that rate. I mean, that's if you own an actual stock like that, that's how you get rich. So it's very good progress, I think. I still no more comments, so I'll proceed. Dividend was also increased from $1.50 per share to $1.80, an increase of 20% from last quarter. I'm guessing that's quarterly dividends. I don't remember if they pay monthly or not. The profit margin of the group remained at ideal levels at around 50%, the 50% target set by the executive board. Earnings per share, which is net income divided by total number of public shares, continues to grow. We are pleased with the decline in public shares. As Monument Group matures as a company, we will continue to push use on-hand cash to engage in buyback or to hold on to shares received through debt collection as a means of reducing public shares in circulation. So yeah, if you already have these are definitely good to have. Let's take a look here. Diamonds and equivalents, 226,192 diamonds. Floating exchanges, 52,723. Loans and leases, 35,000. I'm curious to know what kinds of loans and leases these are. I'm guessing the marketable securities are just shares of the other public companies, which probably aren't that many. I imagine it's Tusk and some others like or Artificial Industries. Inventory, long-term assets. Again, curious when I see stuff like this to know what they consider long-term assets. And their main liabilities would just be the client deposits. Segregating ascent in shareholder equity coupled with the overall decrease in public shares has greatly increased the book value of shares recorded by the group. Book value is used by the board to measure the health of Monument growth and its strategies, ensuring we are driving shareholder returns in the best way possible. The group additionally remains committed to raising dividend every quarter as the only public company to do so. I suspect as Monument Bank grows as a share of the Monument Group's overall business, the book value per share will be a more important metric. Really, I think as a growth company, the earnings or earnings per share even are a better way to value the company. Whether you're just doing the PE multiple or you want to do some discounted cash flow, which if you guys don't know what I mean there, that's not necessarily important at the moment. But as the bank grows, the balance sheet will become a more important part of how you value it. The executive board will continue to look at how we can best serve our community in 2025. Over 2024, we sponsored the International Hockey League, sponsored CivMC editing competitions, and funded media organizations across the server in line with our goals to provide not only fundamental financial services, but create more enjoyable experience for the average individual across CivMC. This is important here. You need to have a strategy for this, even if you're not a business, really, just like if you're trying to have a successful nation, because people are not going to sign into CivMC if it's not fun. And if people aren't signing in, then you can't make money off of them. And you basically just have to worry about that in real life. Why aren't people in our thing helping us make money? The book value per share is $111.69. For dividends, $180. And I don't know what the latest trading price of the shares are because it's a pretty thin market, but I don't imagine it's horribly. Like, I don't imagine it's like $50 or 50 diamonds per share. I imagine it's about this much or more, whatever the last trade price was. So what's the key takeaways? What do they think are the key takeaways? Floating exchanges portfolio, the main bank, is one of the key assets on the bank sheet, comprising 59 floating exchanges across CivMC, and with 27 of these in the Pavi and crop shed alone. These continually growing assets are the bank's counterbalance to growing interest rates. The value of a floating exchange is calculated through adding up all the diamonds within said exchange and the average market value of the material within every exchange, of which the market price is broadcast globally into Pavi's Discord and product updates channel. This, I think, is one of the best parts of the report, because they're providing detail on how it's calculated, and that's very important. It would be interesting if it is down in here. Maybe it's not. If this also plays into how they calculate their cost of revenues, so I'd be curious to know that as well. This is the 9th quarter that I have personally had the pleasure of overseeing as Chief Financial Officer, and the second since being elected as interim CEO in September 2024. Every successive quarter seems to raise our expectations and then beat our expectations every single time. It's an incredible testament to the hard work being put in by our talented workforce. We have assembled a group of people who resonate with our message to make the gameplay experience more enjoyable, more expansive, and more impressive. Financially, we've yet again greatly improved upon our past quarter metrics and financials, setting a high bar for the coming year, which we will take pride in attempting to live up to. Despite spending 8,801 diamonds on buybacks and 4,912 diamonds on dividends, we've grown our cash on hand to levels which we've never seen before, proving that the strategy Monument Group is employing is indeed working as intended. We've greatly expanded the bank's coverage through CivMC, sitting at 14 branches and over 30 branch tellers. The Pavi stock exchange continues to barrel to new heights, with stock options having informally moved to the Pavi Discord away from CivMC's market trade. The Monument Bank now has reached 679 clients, having started this year with 122, which is without a doubt one of the most impressive metrics from the past year. I mean, that is good. I mean, imagine you're a real bank and you have that kind of, so I'd say roughly that's a 5.5 to 1 growth rate. I mean, yeah, that'd be very good. A huge thank you to you, our employees, and our bank tellers who keep Monument Group running. I hope we continue to reward your faith and trust you've placed in us as we endlessly serve at the pleasure of our shareholders and our customers. I only wish to give my eternal gratitude and appreciation to those who support us through their custom, their bank usage, and their kind words. Thank you from all of us, the executive team. Okay. Well, very nice report. I think most of the important details are there. It's the essential minimum plus a couple of the things are there for people to be able to value this company, and that's what a financial report should do. If I were to let me dare to try this a bit. Hold on, I'm going to pull up another tab. Oh wait, nope, I'm looking at the wrong thing. And I got to pull it up in Firefox and move it to Chrome real quick, so bear with me. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at these numbers again. So earnings per share is 21.46. It's been growing a lot through the buybacks. I don't know how many total shares outstanding were there again. I'm going to try and see where I saw that. Where did I see that? Where did I see this? Oh, not here. Where did I see the number of shares? Hold on. Okay, here we go, 632. So they have not bought back most of their shares. There's room to buy back more, I think. So that could be done, but I don't know if we would want to count on EPS share growth for long, because, I mean, the people on the bottom half of these bars are the people who really want to hold. So there could be some of that still. chances are with the earnings growth they're having, the EPS growth will be faster than the net income growth to a degree. I think we could probably assume something like, so I'm going to do a valuation calculator here. This is just one way to value the business. Normally with a discounted cash flow, you would use free cash flow. We'll just use EPS for our purposes this time. So let's just say I think they could probably average about 15% EPS growth. We'll say over the next 5 quarters and maybe 10% over the 5 after that. So that would be a period of 2.5 years. So then that might be how long the server goes on. So maybe that's a reasonable time horizon. I'm using a quarter as a horizon, even though this is clearly got things like implying years in here. So earnings per share was 21.46. So let's just work with that since it is growing. I don't think I need to worry about averages or anything. 21.46? Yeah, okay. All right. And I think a terminal multiple of 10 probably makes sense. So as far as discount rate, we should probably just compare it to what the interest is. And we'll just say I know that it's tiered. You get a higher interest if you have a smaller balance. Let me look at that real quick, just check what it is. Just look at my account. Let's see, no, that's not what I want. I want to look at balance. Okay, to work out my interest. Okay, so I have, so monthly it's about 1.5, but we're doing quarterly, so here's what I'll do. So be 1 times oops. So that would be, I think that compounds quarterly to about 4.5%, we'll say. We don't need to overcomplicate this. So yeah. So with those kinds of gross assumptions, we could say that a fair value of Monument Group shares is about 794 diamonds. Even if let's say we assume earnings per share growth is a bit lighter, I think 550 could still be a fair price. What was the last auction that Monument Group had? Look at that real quick. So I have no idea what its price was, which is probably a good thing. Where do I even look for that? I don't even know where to check quotes on here. All right, scrolling up. Where would it be? I don't know. If someone in chat knows where I can find the last trading price of Monument Group shares, please let me know, because I don't know where to check it out in Discord yet. Getting pinged somewhere. You're going to use this to enforce a better merger deal with PP. Holy shit. Okay. Yeah. Good to know. Yeah, but again, like if we're using, because this is basically when I use this calculator for normal invest. So like when I'm looking at actual stocks where I'm going to put my money, I'm doing a 10-year time horizon here. So that's why I have two sections here for what I think the average growth rate over the first 5 years will be in the second 5 years, just so I can give a little bit of nuance to my calculation. And if I'm instead of rotating quarters for years, and we do 10 quarters, right? It's 4 quarters per year. That's 2.5 years. So if we assume Civ will be around at least 2.5 more years, and then you could maybe cash out at that point. And some of this value may not even be realized through share price. So the terminal multiple would be, so this is the thing you have to consider here. The discounted part here of the valuation, these are the earnings. So all of this here is potentially dividends that could be paid. And the terminal part is essentially figuring what the future earnings power could be. So dividends beyond the 2.5 year time horizon, or what the likely share price would at least be, because the share price will tend to reflect a realistic range of what the earnings price is, unless there's some crazy market nonsense happening, which of course happens with stocks from time to time. So that's sort of the components of the valuation. You take the earnings over the 10-year period. If Monument wants to distribute all of this as dividends or do some of it for buybacks, it may do so. And basically, buybacks and dividends go back to shareholders. It's just dividends go to all shareholders at once, and buybacks only goes to the ones who are selling. But otherwise, I think even on the more conservative side, it's probably an individual share is worth about $5.50 a share. I think a great thing for any financial report would be to have a discussion of what the risks are to the business. It's not something I've seen really hinted at all in any of the financial reports. And I think more of a description of the business model would be good. So here is what the overall business does, and then sort of a couple pages discussing each of the divisions. So a bit is mentioned on that, but more on maybe how many locations there are, which locations make up for a certain percentage of revenues, because I don't imagine all the individual stores make up the most, or I imagine some products account for a lot more revenue than others. And so that's good to let shareholders know, because if, let's just say regular stone is your biggest revenue contributor and otherwise has margins that are similar to the whole company, the impact to that is going to be important to the earnings, positive or negative, and investors can take that into account for valuation. And this is essentially me getting at some of the stuff, right, if you're still here, that I want to be able to go over with AI. So and plus the report, I know the reporting deadline is coming up. I'd like this to be able to get at least an initial report out, so that we can, so I can fulfill my end of the contract, but two, so that we can at least just sort of get it in motion, and then farther down the road we can maybe have more thorough contracts. Mostly what I think of with these types of reports is the way they function for my own practical experience is they're like a hybrid of a Form 10K or a Form 10Q and an investor slideshow. And I think there would be value in compartmentalizing them. The slideshow is good for certain things, and then the financial report is good for really just having a textbook understanding of the business. That's basically what a good financial report is. It's like a well-written textbook on what is there, all there is to know about that business, from the business's point of view. Let's see. So Steele said 180, at least on public auction. Can MG take away your membership if you're an enemy of Pavia? Well, I imagine MG is subject to the laws of Pavia being headquartered there. So if the government ordered them to do so, and I mean, most of the heads of the bank are members of government, so it's just the difference between the two may be difficult to establish at that point. Maybe. It really depends on what they want to do. But yeah, I could definitely see. But here's another thing. Let's go back here. What if there's no growth? What if this is just what the company earns, and let's just say it gets a lower multiple? I'd say this is the bottom floor value of MG shares right here. And that's for a rate of return comparable. Like at this price, you would get a rate of return comparable to the current interest of a small balance cash account at Monument. And of course, if you have larger sums of capital, you might use a lower discount rate because your overall effective interest rate is going to be smaller. So you might price it differently, right? Like, so if we change the discount rate to say, let's say your effective interest rate is more like 3%, your intrinsic value goes up because you pay more for, this is pricing in what kind of return you want. So back to 4.5. Yeah, so bottom floor is about $2.40 a share. What do you believe? So yeah, price it up if you want, and you'll probably be happy with the results if you do. So let me take a look at the score real quick. Not a whole lot going on there. Okay, no big deal. All right, so I can, if there's anyone from my group that wants to show me anything, kind of like Yami did, I can sign in to the server real quick while I'm still streaming. I'm actually glad that I got to try out StreamYard with Minecraft. Not just yesterday, or was it yesterday? When did I do the BEC stream? I'm losing track of my own life. Right, signing in. Okay, server is not down. That's good. All right. You have exciting corporate offices. Really, nothing with like a 9/11 map art in a professional office. But I guess Epic. Okay. The coffee shop Wi-Fi went out for a moment. But yeah. Let me join the server again. All right, let's go ahead and actually just take a look. I'm just for the sake of formality, we'll just go into Pavia and poke our heads at the up there. So let me switch to Minecraft. Okay. Wait a minute, no, I should just take my horse. Ah, stupid thing blocked my hotbar. Okay. Wait, where's my horse? How did he get over? Did he actually come back this way? They never come back this way. That's not my horse. Where is my horse? Seriously, where did my horse go? Did Joe Monkey grab my horse? Is he online? He is online. He probably grabbed my horse. Well, I will grab his then. Oh, it's lagging. It's lagging. Let me go over. I'm getting caught on the frame. I normally go over it much better than that. Well, Carter was confused. He's like, what is this guy doing? Does he know how to play? Oh no, he's confused about something else. Do you sell horses? Maybe they do. I don't know. All right, oh, Britt, did you just happen to be here, or were you here for the stream? Okay. Listening and watching. Okay. This is your corporate office filled and your chest. Okay. Nothing exciting RP-wise to show me. Yeah, that's fine. The RP-wise stuff isn't the most important thing because they don't pay the dividends. The stuff does. It'd be cool if the guy sitting at the 9/11 cubicle actually contributed revenue at VEC. Oh, don't hit your head on things. So anything to tell us about the acquisition of PPIG by Monument Group, or the merger, or however you want to call it? Anything that motivated that, or anything special you want to share to the public? Still negotiation stages at the moment. Executive board yet to approve the latest deal. Ah, okay. Are you hopeful about the future of insurance on Civ in general? It's kind of a, it's a next level type of enterprise on here. It's not as simple as mining or having a store to sell goods. Oh no, By Holly is alone. What By Holly? Yeah, it must be tough being alone. Well, if you can demonstrate the value, there's definitely a niche for it. Oh, Byhalia is so alone. They've gone insane and they're meowing in chat. Okay. All right. Anything else about Monument Group you wanted to share while I'm streaming? Oh, I had a question earlier that I could answer. My question might have been, yeah, like what's considered, yeah, that was one of them. What's considered a long-term asset? What it is saying. So for us, that would be diamonds that are currently within reinforcements or security purposes, so it's retrievable but at a detriment to the business. Ah, that makes sense. As such, it would probably be the last thing we tear up. No, it's good that you clarified that. I think discussions of what the assets are, especially if you think book value is important, people want to know what the book actually is. Investors, especially anytime you put out a report, that could be the first report the person's seen. They could be a new friend, but maybe someone who's still gets the idea of stocks. So every report has sort of a. It's better to err on the side of like assuming that everyone's new to it when you write a report, even if a lot of the people reading it are going to be the same people. That's sort of how real reports are written, so that if you pick it up and it's your first time reading about it, you can at least kind of get into it. Although I will say I like the to answer the question in the chat, I like the portraits of the monarchs. I like the Britishness, not so much this one, but the other British aspects. British. He looks like he's typing something out. He's being a diplomat. Oh, that's what you do. Well, if you've got nothing else, I can always just return home and conclude the stream. Oh no! Don't break your legs. Not on company property. What's workers' comp in Pavia like? Well, you know what? Maybe we don't need to do it all in one stream. There's always aspects of the bank we can cover. For now, just getting the review done and visiting the basic location's good. So thanks, Britt. I'm going to return back to J&J's offices. All right, chat. Well, I think that basically concludes it. Did a review of the report, and unlike the review of VEC, I actually did a basic valuation. So if you want to use that, what I used, if you want to go off what I used in the stream to inform your decision, you can. But I always say, try to make your own assumptions. If you believe growth rates will be different, You can take that into account. Or if you think book value is better and you want to try and anticipate what book value will be per share and use that as a baseline for valuation, do that. If you look at the dividend and you simply compare the dividend yield to the interest yield in your bank account, I mean, those all make sense. Hello, Joe Monkey. Do you know where my horse is? Oh, wait, he doesn't hear me. Joe Monkey, do you know where my horse is? The black horse. Black horse is not here. Somebody, did you see them steal it? Somebody stole our horse? Who was the guy? That's the horse I put up for his name on auction. What do you mean you don't know? So you were here, you talking to him, and he took the horse, and you don't know? This was last. Oh my goodness! And I'm just now finding out about my stolen horse. Oh my! You have no idea what his name was? Do you know what he looked like? He had iron. Was he a new friend? Oh my god, was it Nadnir? I'm gonna. Hold on, I'm gonna investigate. If I see my horse there. Is there a black horse at this house? It's a white horse. So Nadnir did get the white horse. Wow, okay. So this is Nadnir. He was wearing iron armor. It looks like he did get the white horse because there's one here. I don't see the black horse. So he didn't take the black one. Then what happened to the black one? Okay, well, at least we don't have to accuse him of anything. Okay, well, I'll go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you, chat. Have a great day.